I want to model a lesson with you. So we're going to be looking through one of the lessons, and I know I'm looking at the 4th grade lesson. It's through the launch. It's on generating places. It's session 4. Now, I believe there is a generating lesson, generating ideas on places for every unit from 2nd grade through 5th. So if you want to find that one, it may honestly be session 4. So you may want to look through that. So on that session, you will notice that it has a teaching point. You can tell the students what that teaching point is. You can have it written on the board if you want to. I know some schools like to write their objectives for the day and for each lesson subject area, and you can do that. Or you can just skim it yourself and just read it to yourself. But for this lesson, you are going to be creating an anchor chart. And you'll notice that in every one, it will say, start this anchor chart. We were not as nice as the pre-K through 1st grade teachers. We did not make them for you. Because our idea is we want the students to have ownership of Writer's Workshop. And pre-K and 1st graders, they don't really understand that process. For having it made for them is okay. But we want you making it with the kids. So if you just have your little anchor chart started with strategies for generating, writing ideas, the first ones, we've already talked about thinking of a person. So, and then you're going down, and the second one is then think of a place. You will be writing these with the kids. And so it's not going to be completely done, nice, laminated, and beautiful on your wall. Sorry. I know as teachers we like everything to be perfect and hung up, already laminated, ready to go. But we want you actually writing it with the kids. We want them as engaged in the Writer's Workshop process as you are as the teacher. This needs to be student-directed, not really teacher-directed. You're going to be the facilitator, but that's all you're really going to be. So be making it with them. So today, our generating ideas is going to be over thinking of a place that matters to you and then list times you spent in that place. So I want you all just to humor me a little bit. How about a piece of notebook paper? If you don't have any, I do have paper up here, or pretend that you have paper and write in the air, so to speak. And I'll talk about writing in the air in a minute. But go ahead and have that ready. Yesterday, we started working on generating ideas for our personal narratives. And one of those ideas that we did was talking about our favorite person. And we wrote about our favorite person. Do you guys remember when I wrote about my son Bryce? And about when we went, skiing and whatever. So today we are going to be trying another strategy, and that is to think of a place that matters to you. So I want you to just, in your mind for a second, I want you to think of some of your favorite places. And go ahead and just jot those 3 places down. Just you can list 1, 2, or 3. Now, in an ideal world, my easel would be up and I'd be writing right now too, but you can see I've written the beach and Disney World in the backyard.
And we would be connecting it to a mentor text setting.
And I'm kind of off track here a little bit just for the purpose of this, but we skipped a lot. But okay, so now, writers, I want you to turn and talk with the partners sitting next to you. Tell them your 3 favorite places. Just do that quickly for me. Okay, writers. Remember, whenever you hear that callback, it's stop, look, and listen. So, writers, I heard a lot of you share some really great places. Now, I want to read a little bit of our mentor text, Fireflies. And as I'm reading this, I want you to think about what could be possibly some places that our lovely Julie Brinklow thought were some of her, possibly her favorite places. And of course, I would read it to you and we'd go through. And how many of you are familiar with Fireflies? Yeah, it's a great mentor text. Well, during Fireflies in the book, what would have been maybe some of this young boy's favorite places? the backyard, possibly catching fireflies, playing in the neighborhood street, even possibly going down into the little basement area and playing with mother's scissors, which he probably shouldn't be doing. But anyway, as you're reading that, and then you would have the kids. What were some places that were mentioned in this story? And I always like to link it to the fact, you know what, this is probably a story about Julie Brinklow's life. But Julie's a girl and the author, the main character is a boy. Why do you think she did that? And she probably would say, I would think if I was Julie Brinklow, she probably thought that, it's probably better for the boy to be going out catching fireflies than a girl. A girl probably shouldn't be going down in her mom's, basement and stealing jars and her scissors and poking holes in it. So we would kind of talk about maybe why. Is this maybe a small moment from her real life? Why did she change it? Or was it a small moment from maybe her son's life that she took and write? So just really making those connections. And so out of that, we could see some of, writing about a favorite place could be many, many things. So if I look up there, and I looked at mine, and I heard Cozumel, I heard, the woods, and there are all these different places that I heard mentioned throughout when you're turn and talk. This is where it kind of gets tricky that I want you to kind of see. When I'm looking up at my list, I see the beach, Disney World, in my backyard. We need to start talking about what's a small moment idea and what's a watermelon idea. A small moment is like a seed idea. It's one seed out of a watermelon. And then a watermelon has a whole lot of seeds, so I could talk a lot about many different things from that one idea. So I look up there and I obviously see Disney World. That is a watermelon topic because there are many things that I did at Disney World that I really liked. So that's when we would start saying, okay, tell me one thing. So as I was, going around listening, tell me one thing you really liked about Disney World and see if they can start narrowing it down to a small moment. Because our whole goal is to get them to start writing about small moments that are just 30 minutes of time has passed. We don't want them writing about the time from the moment they get in the car all the way drive to Disney World or playing to Disney World and then everything that they did.
To bed stories, like you wake up in bed, your whole day goes through, and you end the story with, and then I went to bed.
Yes.
So I always tell my kids I don't want a bed-to-bed story. I want to find
a small moment. So that's when I would start, one of my little conferencing things that I would do just walking around is trying to get them to narrow it down to a small moment. The kids will start doing that when they're turning and talking. As the year goes on, they'll say, ooh, that's kind of a watermelon story. Tell me, what was your favorite? They'll start doing that for you during their turn and talk times. You just want to train them early on in the mid, at the very beginning of the year to make sure that they are doing making small moments. So I then would tell them, I want you to pick one of your favorite places. So everybody, would you circle that one favorite place that you have listed on there? Make sure it's a small moment. So if you wrote Cozumel or if you wrote Cancun, make sure you're picking one thing that you liked. If you have Hawaii or Oregon, pick something a little bit. What's your favorite thing to do?
Visit my sister.
Okay, my sister's house. So just start really looking at it, make sure you narrow it down.
That was a conference that you just witnessed, Taylor Sawyer. That was a conference.
A chat.
The chat.
It was a chat. It was a quick chat. So now, quickly turn and talk to your partner writers and tell them the one idea that you chose. Good job. Okay, writers. Oh, I love that stop, look, and listen. Thank you. So you all have shared with your partners your favorite place. Now I want you to think of your 3 favorite things to do in that place. So I chose the beach, and one of my favorite memories that I have is I went to the big island of Hawaii a couple of summers ago, and I found the big island doesn't have like sandy beaches. They're all like lava rock all over the place. So I had to drive for hours to actually find an actual sand beach, and it was an experience. I got my rental car, no doubt, lodged on a big boulder, and we're kind of teetering there up and down. Anyway, it's another story. But then another time walking the beach with my husband in Jamaica, and then snorkeling with Bryce his first time. So those are 3 of my favorite memories that I have at the beach. So whichever place you've chosen, tell me 3 of your favorite memories that you've had at that place. And just quickly jot those down. Okay, writers, thumbs up if you have your 3 places listed already. Oh, good job. Now, this is when I want you to pick your one favorite memory that you're going to write about today. Your one favorite memory. And go ahead and circle that. Okay, now that you have chosen that favorite place, I want you to just turn to your partner. I want you to quickly tell them that story that you're going to write. This is called writing in the air, and you're going to see it mentioned several times. So it's going to say write in the air. We know students can tell stories. Every day you're going to probably have kids come, oh, Mrs., you're not going to believe what happened. Guess what happened? And just tell you this big long story. And I was like, you know what? You just wrote in the air. Would you go write that in your writer's notebook? Best way to get them to write. Once you've written it in your writer's notebook, then bring it up to me, leave it on my desk, and I'll read it later. I promise you that will free up 10 minutes of your morning right there. So you're going to use that often. It's just writing in the air. So just quickly, I'm not going to give you very long, 1 minute each partner. Quickly tell your story about your time that you spent in your favorite place. Do that quickly. Okay, writers. You all are so good at this. I hope your students are just as good as getting themselves back in order after that. I just had the wonderful question of what happens when you have a student who really can't think on the spot and come up with an idea. That's going to happen a lot, especially at the beginning of Writer's Workshop. But let the other student go, because first, whoever wants to share first, because they're going to get some ideas from their partner, and the partner's probably going to spark some memories that they may have in them, and then they'll be able to share. What's so great about Writer's Workshop is the communication that's occurring amongst the students, and that they're able to have that talk and share. And we know these kids need to speak. They just need to talk. And when we give them that opportunity to do that, then when they actually go to sit down and write, they'll be able to write without feeling the need to talk. When I first started Writer's Workshop, it was about 10 years ago, and it was after I had just gone through a week training with Lucy Calkins, my best friend. And I went to that Teachers Reading and Writing Institute at Columbia University. And I was fortunate enough that she was my breakout session person. So I got to spend all week with her. Oh my gosh. And I came back after that summer with her and just coming in, I was so excited, and it went awful. Writer's Workshop was a nightmare. I had students hiding under desks when I said, writers, and it was awful. It was ugly. And I told myself, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. And so I just kept, trudging through along it. And I know I told this story this summer, but I had a student who every time I said Writer's Workshop went underneath his desk, holding his legs of his chair, would not move. He was being awful. Principal would come in and find me underneath my desk, holding my legs, just in tears. And it just got to the point where it was so bad that I had to have him removed during Writer's Workshop. So I could teach the other 28 children in my classroom. And as the year went on, it became easier for him. And then the summer happened, I looped from 3rd to 4th grade, so he came back to me, my lovely desk hugger, came back to me 4th grade. And he was running down the hall, pulling his leg. It was in a cast, and he was just, Mrs. Haley, I have something to write about this year. And I was like, oh my gosh, big teacher fail. He went all 3rd grade thinking that he needed to sit underneath his desk because he didn't have a story to tell. And it just hit me. I was modeling these grand things. He had nothing that he could connect with. So I then started making sure that I was sharing mundane things. My trip to Walmart, I dropped a jar of jelly on the floor in the aisle and it broke. I mean, just things that they could start maybe connecting a little bit with. So if you take away anything today, please take away the fact that we are dealing with kids that have not been to Disney World, that have not been skiing, that have not done all these glorious things, that you need to model some lessons and things as simply as sitting on a couch petting the dog. Okay? And just do that, because for one, I was so glad he had something to write about. Hallelujah. And then the fact that big teacher fell, that I failed this child for a whole year. So just make sure that you're doing that. I am going to share a story that he wrote from his lovely experience of dragging his foot down in a cast in just a minute, because I do want you to see he missed a whole year of writer's workshop because he was underneath his desk, but he still did get something. And he ended up being a wonderful little writer. He used every strategy I taught. He used every author's emulation that he loved in his own writing. So I will share that. So just please take away that it's going to be ugly this first year, I promise you, because the kids are going to come to you with no background knowledge whatsoever of Writer's Workshop. But hopefully then the next year it will become easy. So when you're underneath your desk, just take your computer with you, email me your sad story. I will commiserate with you and I will reply back. I have been replying back at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night to teachers. So I'm here, guys. I promise you. If you have a question, email me. I will respond. And I will cry with you. I will congratulate you. I will say, woohoo! I will be that support system for you.
Sad story as a modeling.
Let's absolutely do that. So
They're not all happy.
they aren't all happy.